Those banal words would set everything in motion. But the goddess didn't know it yet. There was no way to predict how this boy would change her life forever. She didn't know yet. Congratulations, Fan. You're going to level up. It was the day after Bell's status update. Hestia had held off telling Lily the results of her update so she could present them to the entire family. Huh? Lily said, not fully comprehending what she had just heard. It seemed like time froze for a moment. Then she continued, her expression unchanging. Who is this? You are. I am what? Leveling up. Where? Right here. When? Right now. There was a moment of silence in the room where Bell and the rest had assembled. And then, Lily raised both fists in the air, letting out an uncharacteristic cry of triumph. It was a full-bodied expression of victory that startled Mikoto and Haruheim, while Bell and Wealth jumped back in surprise. Here is the result of your last status update before leveling up, Hestia said lightly, stifling a laugh as she offered Lily a sheet of paper. Lily practically jumped up to see the contents, still breathing heavily from her cry of joy. Lilaluka Erda. Level 1. Strength, I-81-H-106 Defense, H-144-189 Dexterity, G-265-298 Agility, E-417-468 Magic, E-499-D500. Cinderella Magic. Shape-changing magic target will assume the form imagined at the time of casting. Without a clear image, spell will fail. Recommended to mimic an existing form activation chant, your scars are mine. My scars are mine. Deactivation chant, Midnight Bell Strike. Skills. Arter Assist. Automatically activates when the weight carried exceeds a certain limit. The amount of assistance is proportional to the weight carried command call. Expands the range of telepathic communication when shouting above a certain level during melee combat. The increase in area is determined by the scope of the battle. Instructions will only be transmitted to receivers with the same Falna. Maximum distance depends on the sender's level. This was her final status at level 1. Leveling up involved acquiring a large amount of Excelia by performing various actions and required raising at least one skill to the 6th level. In this case, it was Lily's magic that went from level I to level D, as it had increased dramatically in the last month. She used her shape-shifting magic to sow confusion in the battle on Deadless Street during the operation, to help the Xenos return to the dungeon. And just a few days before, she had finally crossed over to D rank. There was also the matter of great deeds. Although she had relatively few opportunities for direct combat, the many brushes with death that Lily had survived had apparently been worth it. Leveling up. The deciding factor must have been the encounter with the Moss Giant and the Amphisbaena in the most recent expedition, but even without that, Lily had overcome many challenges that were extremely impressive for a level 1 supporter. Her deaths in the middle levels, the battle against the Black Goliath, the war game, and all the events involving the Xenos. More than anything else, it was her triumph over a dark mark on her history, Soma. Her advancement was a natural result of everything she had been through. Moreover, this level was the affirmation of the value of Lilaluka Erda's entire life, from the moment she had been given a Falna and was inducted into a family after birth. Above all, she had developed a new skill as well. As Lily looked at the paper, she trembled with excitement. So, what do you want to do for your development ability? Endurance is one option, but it seems you can also opt for compounding. As Hestia was looking over the possibilities, Lily attacked. That's the ability Miss Notza has, isn't it? When I was a thief, whenever I wanted to trick an adventurer, I would pretend to be busy using compounding to prepare an item. Evidently, the reason Hestia had delayed Lily's status and not raised her immediately was to give her the opportunity to discuss the choice with Bell and the others before deciding on a development ability. Lily was excited again, but now she agonized over the choice, although it was a pleasant sort of dilemma. Compounding was a development skill often acquired by herbalists, and was primarily used to create medicines. It could increase the effectiveness of items like recovery potions to the point where they almost seemed magical, instantly closing wounds, and more. Essentially, if she chose compounding, she would be able to make potions and potentially all sorts of other things, which would significantly reduce the expense of certain items. Lily had never considered herself an herbalist, but she actually found the prospect quite enchanting. The ability to make potions as needed on her own would be a serious financial coup. The idea lingered tantalizingly in her mind, especially as the family's breadwinner. If she became decent at it, there was even potential to sell some of the items she made and make a bit of money. Still, resistance could be useful, if less exciting. Simply by passively preventing harmful status ailments, resistance was powerful. It was especially sought after by those who went on dungeon expeditions, and it wasn't an exaggeration to say that high-level adventurers who ventured deeper into the dungeon considered it essential. There were certain things that were simply impossible to do without it. Lily agonized. Then, after much deliberation, she chose endurance. While the composition was extremely appealing to her for its usefulness in item creation, Lily's true goal was to continue supporting Bell. To not falter in the dungeon. To always be by his side, ready to help him in any way she could. Being useful to the party, and therefore to Bell, was her highest priority. It wasn't as simple as the Far Eastern proverb for rice cakes, go to the rice cake shop, but the reality was that they considered Notza a close ally and could count on her to provide them with whatever items they needed. It stood to reason that an experienced and talented herbalist would be able to produce better items than someone who had just started out. Lily could continue to haggle with Notza while counting on her for whatever they needed, as she always had. Everyone had their strengths. Lily decided to prioritize her role as supporter. Congratulations, Lady Lily. That's amazing. If I'm not careful, Lily will surpass me. Surrounded by Mikoto, Haruheim, and wealth, Lily found herself being praised. I'm so happy. I really am. I almost thought this day would never come. Lily felt as if she had finally been accepted. Accepted by a reality she had once hated so bitterly. Accepted by a world that now, thanks to so many people in her life, seemed to shine brightly. I'm so happy for you, Lily. But more than anyone else, this boy had changed her. Thanks to him, she had found the strength to stop living as the sad girl covered in ash and start being true to herself. He had saved her. And now that boy looked at Lily with a radiant smile. No matter how much he grew and matured, his easy smile never seemed to change. There was a time when I really wanted to make his life hell. Deep down, Lily felt an indescribable thrill as she thought of their first meeting. The pleasure she had gotten from imagining how completely she would deceive that lost little lamb or rabbit was still a fond memory somehow, despite it being a dark time in her past. What's wrong, Lily? Nothing. Nothing, Mr. Bell. She shook her head and returned Bell's smile with one that was just as bright. Then she repeated her vow, a promise she would keep, no matter what. Lily will continue to support you from now until forever." Lily hummed a cheerful tune to herself as she walked through the city. With her newly promoted status, she was now officially a level 2. She found it impossible to hide her joy. The expedition ended in failure, and our family was almost on the brink of bankruptcy, but it turns out there are rewards you can't put a price on. She jumped and twirled like a child who had just received her allowance. With no one around who could identify her as a Hestia Familia, she went, bathed in the smiling, affectionate gazes of the adults occupying the storefronts she passed. Normally she would have resented being identified as a child, but for the moment, it didn't bother Lily in the slightest. If she consciously flipped the switch on her new abilities, the speed she could run and the distances she could jump would change dramatically. She could probably jump from the street to the second-story roof of one of the nearby houses if she really wanted to. Even considering how it would take time and training to get used to her new abilities, Lily was excited about her new potential. Now that I think about it, can the family also get promoted because of Lily? Would the tax they would have to pay increase? Would it be better to keep their rank a secret? She pondered the various possibilities, but finally burst into a delighted and completely out-of-character laugh. Who cares? Yippee! She was incredibly delighted. Now it's time to deliver this along with the good news. Holding a bag with both arms, Lily ran through the streets as they began to fill up. Hey! Are you Lilaluka Erda? Huh? Who? Mr. Ruan. Ruan Spell, the prom fellow she suddenly encountered, had the dress and air of a knight's page. Once a member of the Apollo Familia, he was now a free agent, and Lily seemed to remember that he was working at the hidden home of the Proms, a tavern exclusively for prunes. What are you doing here? I'm on a mission to the pub. What, isn't it obvious, said the Premier, a year older than Lily, holding out a shopping bag that was quite large given his physical size. His lip curled into a sneer, seeming to indicate that perhaps he still held a grudge against the war game. And you? Walking around giggling like a child. What's got you in such a good mood? Not even Ruan's curt tone could ruin Lily's mood. She stuck out her chest proudly, still holding her own bag in both arms.